This episode, World Banking Conspiracies, is dedicated to a very special friend and special guest, Makoto Mitsuboshi. Makoto is a Japanese-American, retired economist, and has an MBA in economics. He was director of Maruni AZ, a real estate investment firm, and was a consultant for an international banking think tank. He is fluent in English, Japanese, and speaks conversational Mandarin, Chinese, and Russian. He is currently a local community organizer for UFO studies and alternative news media within the Phoenix, Arizona area of the US of A. He has also worked as a Japanese translator for David Icke, a known conspiracy theorist and alternative media mogul. This show, again, is live. Welcome to the show, Makoto. Are you there?
Yes, here. Nice to be here. Thank you for inviting
Makoto,
me.
Thank you for coming to our show. It's such an honor.
Well, I feel very special, especially that they glorify the introduction. I thank you very much for the very generous and nice introduction. Yes, I would love to talk about this subject today.
So many people that are listening today are very interested in what you know about the different banking communities, world banking ethics, economies, and probably some of the more like black budget projects. But let's start from the very beginning. How did you personally get involved with? Obviously, it's had something to do with your education, but how did you personally get involved with an awareness that there was something going on that was not being shared with the public?
That was when I was checking some different investment vehicle, and then I noticed that the precious metal market was not really readily available from those familiar name investment firm like Merrill Lynch or Fidelity. I don't know if I should mention them, but those household name investment firm. They never talk about those things for the people. And then I came to know that the magazine called Criminal Politics or something like that. I don't remember the exact name. And then they talking about all the conspiracy theory, especially at that time Clinton administration back in many years ago. And then Oklahoma buildings bombing thing, especially. Do you remember those? Way, way, way back.
I do not remember the Oklahoma building bombing, but I was I believe I was a freshman in high school when the Clinton administration was changing over to the Bush administration. So I'm a much different generation than you are. You're saying it goes all the way back then, if not farther back?
I've heard, because before I get into the conspiracy theory, I was a student of studying Bible. And then I studied many different subjects and end time scenario and different. Sometimes I get to hear some conspiracy end of the story. And then time goes by, they all come together. And then about several years ago, this my hobby is picking up one thread to the another and put together. So to say, people call it connecting dot to dot. Few people icon it that way. And then suddenly the whole picture just came up to me, and that's how I get into. So it's getting slower, but many years ago. Getting into this field was a slower pace, but it was many years ago to begin with.
And you mentioned that, I mean, I'm aware that there is the Federal Reserve, and that was created as a private bank, and then there's the World Monetary Fund, and these are sort of private parties and representations of a secret government. But would you say that, like, this stuff goes beyond those entities in time? And was it before there was a Federal Reserve?
Well, we probably not to mention too much about what I'm researching still now. It could be tied into some type of off-world entity, or the history is with ancient history, and especially something to do with extraterrestrial group, maybe meddling with human history. And that is the beginning of the institution of the controlling humanity, and a part of the program was the invention of money. And that makes sense to me.
So who would you say?
If you talk about,
go ahead.
No, so it's if you're talking into that field, it's millennia, 10,000, 20,000 years ago. It could be 50, more than that. If you're talking about how many years the span of this institution was instituted, and then if you talk about that area, including that kind of thing, it's going to be much more than just a few thousand years. The Chinese history, normally we call it about 5,000 years history, but much more than that.
So what you're saying is there's a group of a few individuals that may be related through bloodlines or family that got control of the money system by just conceiving of it.
Especially is very well known. One family name is Rothschild, and they started in Germany in the beginning, and then they spread all over Europe, and now it's spread all over the world, including a financial system in Asia. Japan and China and all other parts of the Asia, and there's only few countries central banking system was not controlled by them, but recently they were eliminated by the military action. I've heard of Libya and also Sudan, Iraq had a different type of central banking system. And that was one of the reasons they were targeted and eliminated. That's what I've heard.
Very interesting. So that brings up a question that might be a little bit of a switch of topic. Do you feel like, in some ways, that this is the blue bloodline you're referring to, the one that David Icke likes to talk about oftentimes, the Rothschild family?
Yes, Rothschild family, also the many royal families in Europe is intermarried. This is the bloodline, and I'm a little bit familiar with David Icke's work. So this is the bloodline that is related to our presidents, U.S. presidents. Some researchers researched that most of or all the presidents of the United States in history are somehow related to royal bloodline, and So a few families, household name like Windsor, the Queen Elizabeth. And those families are, intermarried with all the European different royal families. So they all kind of connected in a way, but they love to play chess games sometimes with each other. Maybe they get bored, sometimes.
Yeah. I'm sure if you have a lot of money and a lot of time, you get bored.
Yeah.
So you were researching gold markets, and you became aware of this stuff in the 90s or the 80s?
That was beginning of the 90s or late 80s. Start getting interested in because those are the market is kind of sealed off. Normally, investment banker or investment advisor come to your house, or you met at somewhere or the office. They never suggested or recommended to buy any precious metal.
Interesting.
And I thought that was very strange, Why?
Yeah, that sounds a little weird to me.
Well, nowadays
what I would go on to guess is there may be a limited quantity of precious metals that is reserved for certain individuals that have an extraordinarily large amount of money, or their royal families, or the royals are only allowed to buy it, or how does that work?
No. Anybody go to the corner of the coin shop and can buy any gold coin. One ounce coins probably cost around, very roughly, $1,400. Anybody can buy, anybody can invest it in, but investment advisor from large institution, like investment firm, that you can see those investment firm on the corner of your shopping mall or some office, those people would normally not recommend to invest in gold. But if you go to like precious metal or wedding ring, they're selling those kind of a precious stone and metal, what do you call? Accessory, not accessory. People are going to scold me for the accessory. How do you say those store? Selling rings and
gold,
jewelry store. Yeah, jewelry store. If you go to jewelry store, you can buy and selling a gold coin and the gold nugget, which is not really coin shape, but you can buy in U.S. normally comes in the size of ounce, and then in Europe sometimes they go by grams. It's readily available, but it just does not be included in one of the retirement fund. Like people come with a strap jacket and come to see you, and then your retirement 401k. You should invest in this and this and this. They normally never talk about it.
Interesting.
Because that's I would say that Lindsey Williams says it's a gold and silver. He didn't say particularly silver. Gold is the money for the elite. So I think the normal people like us shouldn't be interested in or involved in thinking and researching about the gold market. It kind of discourages. The information is not readily available. What's the history of the price? It's all over the internet nowadays, so you can check it as much as you want. But before the internet age, it was more like you had to go to department store and talk to people, and you're mercy of the people you're talking to, and they whatever information they're providing you,
Interesting. So, would you say that at that stage in U.S. history, we had already started exhausting our gold reserves from the like Fort Knox and a lot of the places that people, can't really go visit to see if there's any gold left? Do you think our gold standard's been gone a long time, or was dissolved for several?
Yeah, apparently there has not been really do the inventory checking, or if there any gold at all in Fort Knox for many decades. When somebody tried to come up with like a rum pole, let's go and take a look, and so if there is a gold there, something like that happened, they usually buried into some argument, and then it will not happen. And that's the one thing that's kind of make me feel uncomfortable about how much gold reserve the U.S. has. And the other one is the news a few years ago. Germany requested their gold reserves to be retrieved to them. And then U.S. side said, well, we have your gold, but, you know, it's not very convenient time right now, so we'll give it to you 2016. If there's abundant gold there, why they have to wait until 2016? That's some strange stories, I hear here and there.
Now, you know quite a bit about Russia because you speak Russian, and you're involved with a lot of world travel. Do you think that Russia has a good gold supply, or they
I do not know how much they have. It should be available data if you do real quick research over the internet. But Switzerland keep other people's gold. They have a vault, and they have a system of storing those kind of things, and they're somehow call it independent status, but they never should fight with invade other country, and only they use their military force for the defense. And then I've just heard that India this year, they bought the silver market, 25% of the entire global production of silver. They bought it this year. And China has been buying all the available from any production of the last year. And they're buying a huge amount. Those two countries really wanted to accumulate the precious metal, at least.
One of my theories, and I don't really mention this to a lot of people, but I consider this an appropriate time to mention is, this show, it's not officially sponsored by the Bank of the Vatican, but I've used the Bank of the Vatican because my family, you guys call it the Bank of America. Bank of America. My family always told me to use Bank of America when I was growing up in San Diego, so I still have an account with them. I think of them as the Bank of the Vatican, and I think of Wells Fargo as the bank of the Mormons in Utah and stuff like that. What do you think about these organizations that are really behind certain banking groups? Is that true? Does Bank of America, is that ruled by the Vatican?
I've heard
about what's going on?
Yes, I've heard of the Bank of Vatican or Vatican or Catholic Pope. I've heard when they do the money transaction, they use Bank of America.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not mention the name of the investment firm. There's one particular investment firm was used by Pope back in few decades. I don't know currently, but one time they used it. And there's such things called Bank of Vatican. At one time, they had some scandal regarding it involving a junk bond and very fast developing, growing one Italian bank. I think end of 80s or something. And there's connected to the something hanging from the Tower of London. Have you heard of that?
Weird.
Somebody, right now there's apparently more than 50 or 100 banker just strangely disappeared. Or
I saw that on Facebook recently. They several suicides. More than, I think it was 3 dozen suicides in the banking industry.
Yeah, it's very strange that somebody threw himself from the rooftop where there's no access. I don't know who get up there. That kind of thing, But
and later on in this discussion, I want to see if you think that this is connected to some of this mind conditioning or mind control, because I suggested that on my Facebook forum when that was presented. That look, this just can't be a coincidence. All these bankers are killing themselves, and it's very strange. And I said, maybe they're mind controlled. I mean, it's possible. They're all high-level banking officials. They could have been pre-screened. But sorry.
Okay.
Anyways, I'm kind of deviating. I wanted to see if you really think that the churches are behind the stockpiling of gold, and if, I mean, obviously I'm one of the few believers out there that says, you know, not bank, but the Vatican itself is the place on earth that has the most gold.
I haven't heard about that. But probably yes, yeah. And another church, the prominent church we have that you named it, the conjunction with Wells Fargo, I think they have a lot of gold too.
Yeah, Wells Fargo's interesting. I visited Utah and did a few shows from Utah and Salt Lake City, and I'm very fascinated by the Masonic origins of Joseph Smith's Mormon group. And so I was kind of like looking into it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Actually, I have the picture at my library. Is Brigham Young, you know, the second president of Joseph Smith was the first president,
right?
Or the prophet, they call.
Prophet, yeah.
And then second was Brigham Young, right? And his statue even in Washington. I have a portrait painted. He has a cuff button or something. It's Mason's cuff button on the tie, or the area of the tie. I have that painting copy. So I can talk about that off the record. I know quite a bit about that, and we can talk about off the record.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I was interested very much in the history of Utah, as he was the first governor of Utah, and it immediately tied church and state together, which was very strange to me.
It's a big, deep down connection there, and I wouldn't particularly talk about, because this is the United States radio. Most of the people listening. I don't want to talk too much about that, so just maybe next time.
Okay.
Maybe we decide how much we talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they have lots of gold, especially. I know the one individual who is really connected to the church, and he has gold interest in there, and in that area has the natural gold mine, sounds like, in Utah area. And they have something to do with it. That's something to do with it, I think. But also church doctrine, they talk about something about it. I mean, not the doctrine as in written in a book, but it's some type of oral tradition. And they usually classify it as the rumors. If you talk about these things as a church official, they said, oh, we don't know anything about it. But if you talk about the oral tradition and check with the researcher, there's a lot of stuff in there.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm very fascinated by these organizations, which I personally think that a lot of the banking power is going through churches now. And, you know, the Vatican, we have some of the greater churches of Israel, and we have some of the greater churches of Switzerland, or not the banking guilds of Switzerland, which I feel are somehow connected to the Vatican as well.
Yeah, because they are crusader, end up with the Swiss foundation was crusader. The crusaders, the gold was, reported to collected at the Jerusalem went
yeah.
yeah, that's why the foundation of Switzerland is basically the Crusader. You know that in Vatican, right? Vatican had a guard, or so-called, not army, the guard, that wearing a traditional uniform, like a
Swiss guard.
17th century. Yeah, the Swiss guard. So you know who guarding who. So what's the interest in there? So they share a common interest.
I have so much to say about all that, and I know it's probably more important that we figure out what the intentions of these people are. So in your experience, in your research, what do you think the intention of all these banking clans, guilds, families, and organizations are?
At this point, the Rothschild was thought to be 80% of global wealth. So at this point, he does not care about the number or amount of the money or the financial resources. Their ultimate goal is to control humanity. It's not just financial part of it, but they want to control all the affairs of humanity, and it's extended to global. There's something to do with also like a GMO crop food and all kinds of other things tied into See, they think like this. They think like this. We think they already got everything, right? So it's already, they're safe and they're on top of it, and then they don't care about much about it, because we will think, oh, they have so much money and they have a great control, but they don't think like that. They want to have 100% of control. 99% is not good enough for them. Just keep in mind, they want 100%. So eventually they will take the free will from the humanity. I think that's probably going to be that direction.
Interesting. So it is truly a sinister sort of opposite, negative polarity of intention that a lot of our money would be founded on, and a lot of the investment projects that are really large, government to government wise. A lot of that is about control, is what you're saying, and it comes down to that bottom line of control. And it's not like they're trying to control the money. It's like they're trying to control the people, right?
Yes, correct. They almost try to control the will or soul or the spirit. You know what I mean? It's more than just the physical aspect of it. Because their way of thinking.
Go ahead.
Their way of thinking is not like they think they're great. They think they are doing God's will. If you interview one of them, you catch it, then, do you think you're really sincere and an evil person? Oh no, I'm doing the will of God. I'm just doing as much, and we are entitled to it because humanity in general is so stupid, cannot govern by themselves. So God handed this job to us, and we have a holy missions to do that. That's how they more like feels like, They don't think they're doing something bad. No.
This is an old story, and when I've read history, the kings of old used to have mandate to rule the people, and the mandate came down from the top. It came from God. It was the right to rule. And this is what you're saying, that these people, the Rothschild families, the blue bloods, the elites, they still claim mandate from God to rule.
Yes. And that's kind of feel like outdated. Maybe it's a joke. Maybe Queen Elizabeth doesn't think like that anymore, because she's a current personality, you know. It's not like a 17th, 18th century person. But they sound like they really do feel like that. I mean, that's not a laughable or joke. They really feel like that.
So if that was, okay, let's challenge our listeners. So if there's someone out there who thinks that's a joke and that Queen Elizabeth really is a good, person that's joking about her right to rule the people, why doesn't she give up a lot of her power or give it back to the people, give it to a community organization? So that might be a good question to pose. Why is it that she needs to keep the power? Why can't she just allow it to go outward from herself?
Yes, that's a good question to ask, to yourself and think about it. Why that's the way?
The same thing. It seems to me the same thing comes from the Vatican and the Pope, and it's like, why do they need all that power? Why can't they release several of their hidden documents that they've stolen from, let's say, there's so many different cultures that they've taken from, like Egypt and Maya and the Aztec empires and Inca. I mean, why can't they release those? Just let it be part of world history. They're sealed. They're hermetically sealed.
Yes. It's very vested interest is not to educate the common, in the British term common. It's normal majority or mass population. It's going to be soon like that if you go to local library. I don't know, 2 years ago, I was in Harvard University area. There was some kind of protesting and complaint about some, I think, governmental or some administration. I don't know which department of the government is exactly, but they are apparently taking the books away from the library and bringing it to somewhere else. And they have certain authority that the Harvard librarian cannot question it. And these things is going on everywhere now. I've get the news that a few days ago, some librarian was arrested by protesting. Why you take books from Harvard, library? And they say that they were arrested. So they, time to time, do that, so that they completely erase. And also, they're very interested in enough to people to be educated, be able to think analytically, and they do not have a good access to the historical information. For example, in China, after Cultural Revolution, they changed the character they're reading and simplified. And the surface reason is we reform the characters so more common people who is not access to the privileged education easily learn how to write and read the character. But at the same time, if you do that, that generation having a hard time reading the previous generation's writing. And then I think that might be one of the reasons as well, I think.
Yes, cut them off from their sort of oral tradition and from maybe, the stories of their elders and what was passed down generation to generation. Make them more, they would become more reliable on the government system rather than on the family system. In my experience, this is, and I studied a lot of Eastern history and philosophy, this is the Confucianism versus Taoism. This is the city folk versus the rural folk, and it's again to sort of keep the poor people under control.
Poor people are poor. Rich gets richer and poor gets poorer. That's what they want to do. want to make it more help. Basically, they love to have a slave, not the real, middle class. They hate middle class, especially middle class enjoy themselves and then wearing a pretty clothes and having affluent money to spend. They hated it. They hated it very much. They love to see that many people in poor and almost starved to death, verge of starvation. So they didn't control them. At the same time, they want to see that. Their mentality is a little bit different from us, and also they want to see the people suffer, and then they want to create more wars between people, conflict, and at the same time, the bonus is reducing the population on both sides of the fighting team. That's also, they want to see that as well. That's happening right now and every day in the world. Especially you hear the particular nation's name all the time, where the tight grip from the Illuminati or the basic elite group has on the nation. A particular one beside the United States.
So this is an interesting thing you jumped on right there. I'm gonna catch that word that is the fiery word of the night. You use the word Illuminati. Who are these people? When did it start? What would you say? Is it real, or is it just a pseudonym, sort of false term for elitists, laughing and saying we got all the money, and say let's call ourselves, the Illuminati, and pretend that this is really real? Or are they serious? Are they organized? Are they serious?
They are like one of the oldest organization on the earth. But they are there before even we realize. Like I was mentioning about when we talk about when the financial institute was ever instituted on the history of the earth. That's about the same type of thing, same time of the span of history they have. And then there's another name, this icon, Illuminati, is developed, I think 17th century or 18th century. Somebody used it to form the group. I think eventually this group is kind of disappeared or
like a Bohemian. It was a Bohemian group, and it was in 1770 something.
Yeah.
And the individual who started that group actually looks more like the person we have on our $1 bill, I heard.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Than the actual president.
Yeah, the actual president, and this person it's interchangeable or not, I do not know. Like, you can get into the very detailed argument. So they have that name at that time. They use it. But what I'm mentioning about Illuminati here is that what I call this oldest institution on the earth, and they know what they're doing. They're getting a super intelligence from somewhere else, and they're planning their intelligence is almost non-human. They sound like they have more power and intelligence than us, in a sense. In a sense, not, but but that's what I'm calling. And at this point, that many researchers call Illuminati 13 different royal family, European family, plus Rothschild. That's what we researchers will call, and they are serious. They are real, and they have some common purpose and common aiming toward the human society. But at the same time, they don't love each other. I don't know how I call them. I would say they like playing poker together at the Las Vegas table. They know each other because they're a big player.
They're having a friendly competition.
Yeah. They don't love each other though. They sometimes love to get into other people's territory and agitate it. Because I've heard that the Illuminati's younger days training, including if you're a boy around age 12, they apparently have to do kind of up to death combating with other Illuminati child. They choose this age because even they get seriously try to kill each other, they wouldn't probably, I mean, it's going to be very serious wound and everything. But it's not going to kill other person. That's why they do that. But they're serious. They prepare this for many months, and they were praised if they win, and if they didn't win, they're going to be so disgraced, and it's crazy. You have to participate in this kind of training when you're a youngster. Would you want to be an Illuminati? No, I don't want to be. They don't have a normal childhood, though, if they've grown up in this kind of society. Illuminati, not just the 13th family top. They apparently that the population is as much as the core area, only 10,000 people. And then most of them involving in a different department of the human activity. Some of them are banking, some of them are pharmaceutical, some of them are in the military, and this kind. I've heard of one family. They pretend like your nice neighbor, but Saturday, Sunday they go on a family trip nearest the military camp, and they are practicing shooting. It's
okay.
Yeah, that kind of thing is weird. And you never talk about what they're doing in the weekend.
Well, yeah. I'm kind of getting a little bit, I could say, like that feeling you get when you have the hair stand on the back of your neck or whatever. Because I read a lot of science fiction books, and I remember a certain group of people in my favorite series that was within the Dune worlds, and they would train their sons, or their heirs within the different houses of the Dune worlds to be fighting, and at some point, they'd have like a death fight, and this was all like sort of legal, and it was common and stuff like that. But only within the noble class. It's very strange. Yeah.
I love that book. That's one of my favorite too, as well. Yes, it's any royal family has this tradition of training their youngster with this strict Spartan type of education. But that's the surface. They were really serious sometimes. It is more than necessary, I would say, especially judging from the modern standard of, physical exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, okay. So there's some deep stuff going on. Everyone has these intentions towards control. They're in a friendly competition towards each other. There are obviously different banking. Well, we didn't really go over that. So from my perspective, there's different banking houses. There's different banking guilds. And is this true, or does everyone put their money in one big pot and pretend that, it's really different?
Sounds like Rothschild only control western side of the banking system. If you're talking about the Russian area, these days you hear the news that they, passed the law and decided to punish that Russian banks and so forth. because they have a friendly competition going on, and then they might have a bigger common objective that we don't know, but at the surface they try to just do some kind of friendly competition. I'm going to fine you $15 billion. Okay, thank you very much. And we are going to fine you $15 billion. That sounds like an interesting game, isn't it? And they do that. And the Rothschild is Illuminati is called Romanov, the last Charles, the family. And the mark of their family has a two-headed eagle.
Okay.
Eagles everywhere. United States is eagle too. And there's all kinds of symbolism. You can Google researches. You can have hundreds of informations there, and you can take a look at it. So different section. The Japan used to be sealed, little bit different from Western Rothschild banking system, but about 20 years ago, I guess, I was just stunned because they instituted kind of a similar to the other Department of Finance or Department of Treasury. Name is called not the I don't know what's the official translation of the department now, but Japanese word-to-word translation is Department of Safe, big safe. The meaning is that you have a big governmental safe box and put in. And used to Japanese money system is based on the rice and how many rice is each area produced, and that's the financial banking. And then about 20 years ago, they all of a sudden they started to establish another department called the Department of Finance. Treasury Department, basically. I was wondering why they do that. Why just do this redundant, And they absorb into this, and now we don't have this traditional Department of Safe anymore. They change into this name, and then everything is different. That goes on Japanese economic department too, development economic. It used to call MITI. Now we just changed name as well. So you know what's going on. And then in Shinjuku area in Tokyo, they build a lot of buildings, strange shape, and it has a lot of buildings. Looks like some Illuminati symbols.
Okay.
And that started about 20 years ago. And now I see completed. Japan is very controlled, 1984 type of society nowadays.
Yes, it always appeared to me that way. At least from the perspective of looking at Tokyo from the outside in. So I'm going to jump around a little bit. I would like us to move over to the Black Budget Project conversation, and obviously these people get bored. They have lots of money. They're looking to control the masses, and they come up with a sort of off the record or a super secret record project, right? And is that how we would appropriately define a Black Budget Project, or how would you how would you define that? Okay.
Yes, that's pretty much it. They are.
Go ahead. Give us a bigger definition than that, because you're more succinct than I am. You're much more eloquent.
Black budget program. It's a basically so-called black budget, so it's not counted. And so-called that if you people said we have a budget, but about $15 billion, we don't know where we went. That's
right.
Amount of spending. Sorry about that, but we just lost the record. That kind of things going on, and then that's all going to the Black Budget Program.
So might this also be going on in a lot of other organizations like NASA?
NASA is a front organization. NASA sounds good and going to they're sending people to moons, or maybe they actually didn't send the people moon, or what? I don't talk about it too much, but they do lots of good things. But that's a front organization. They're high up in administration. I've heard that they're all high Mason, something like that, and all connected to this Illuminati group. And actually, the German side, there's a lot of German, most famous person is Einstein, came from Germany. The lots of people, talented people, came from Germany, and they'll never be punished in any way.
Okay.
They have all
so this
kinds
is
of
Project Paperclip you're kind of talking about.
And also during the World War II, there's like a German submarine coming on and off the coast of this area called Montauk. Island,
New Jersey?
And then they reported that some people speaking German and show up there all Southern, and they wearing a German military uniform, and then they go somewhere and they came back and then changed the uniform, and we were thinking that the U.S. was fighting Germany, but deep down there, we are the same entity. They're helping in some secret project, and we are same stone, And George Bush Sr.'s father was director of the Bank of New York, and then they reported to be helping instituting or founding Nazi Germany. IBM helped to create a program to counter prisoner. And we are big time supporter of Nazi Germany to begin with. And we were always connected. We are always friends. So with the Soviet too. Somebody said that they get into the mechanical room of space shuttle, found all the part was made in Russia or USSR at the time, written in all kinds of Russian language. And the Cold War was just totally fake. And under the table, they're all friends. That has been going on for more than we can believe. That's what my understanding is.
I know that is interesting. The Cold War, totally fake. Friends underneath the table. And to me, the way I think is, oh, okay. That makes sense on the grounds that everyone would stay in their country. They would travel less. They'd work harder. They'd make sure they didn't, talk to any communists. And they would keep us in a box.
Yeah. What? Boogeyman. Is the boogeyman? Is a scary monster? Yeah. We need that all the time.
Afraid of your own shadow.
Yeah. And at that time was a communist, and Soviet was so that we need to get the money tax from the people's tax money, so that we can fight with them, and all the money going down these black projects. And
so the
Illuminati,
the word Illuminati now may be the new boogeyman, right? It may be the new communist.
I don't think so, because they don't. The new boogeyman is usually well known through CNN or the mainstream media near you. But the Illuminati word is not really household word in CNN yet. So in that sense, it's different. They want to be known a little bit, but not so much. as a big boogeyman. They want to, also, who is that? The Von Braun told, I think, last secretly, nowadays she is pretty good-aged lady with famous long white hair.
Condoleezza Rice?
No, the other lady.
Hillary Clinton?
None of those. If you go to the UFO conference, like in Arizona every year, she comes and speaks to us. I think I forgot her name. She was the personal secretary for Von Braun. She said the Von Braun warned last boogeyman will be space alien attack on the Earth. Imagine or real? Because they created this kind of holographic kind of image right now. Holographic technology is really advanced, and they can just make anything that just any Hollywood movie can depict it on the screen. So I don't know. Imagine or real that the last one is going to be an attack from the space. And that will unite the humanity into one group. And then use at that moment to create an entire new system. Some people call it New World Order.
Yeah, NWO.
So the end of that the finishing up touch with this painting will be I think it's alien invasion.
Oh boy, I see people as sheep, and a lot of these others as wolves or sheepdogs, and they're running us into one big corral.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the one, like a famous speech by Ronald Reagan at the United Nations or something? Imagine that we are attacked from the outer space, that we are going to be united, blah, 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 blah. I think somebody put the word in there just to see the people's reaction. They do the pre-screen show before they start using the word more common, more frequently. And I think that was one of the first one they ever used to suggest that we might be getting attacked from the outer space. And of course, it's going to be used for you use it for the United Nations agenda. A United Nations owned by Rothschild, so that makes sense.
Well, I don't really want to touch that one with a follow-up question because it's so intense for me as an individual hearing it for the first time. I'm really not sure how to follow up with that. But do you feel like David Icke would agree with you and a lot of this stuff is very similar in his research?
I don't know about the David Icke, but David Icke's friend, like Stuart Swirlo, he's always talking about that. And it's commonly, UFO researchers, some part of UFO researcher, among them, this concept is pretty well known. I just put it that way. I'm of the group of people that believe in the science fiction is already here. So I think there's a lunar colony. And I personally don't really know if I believe in George Lucas style or Star Trek style science fiction. But I definitely believe in the stuff that's dealing with how do you say, cloning. You got Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger, where they're living on Mars. I think that's all happening right now, and we're just not aware of it because we don't have enough money. Yes, I agree. Remember a few years ago, there's some nuke missile launched from the Earth to see if there's water on the moon. Do you remember? They wanted to burst it, something like that.
Yeah,
they wanted to
I
hit
think
something.
I remember that.
Yeah, they, you know, in order to know if there's a water or not, you don't have to really do that, you see. It just doesn't make sense. They wanted to destroy some target because they are watching us or something. Yeah, Illuminati didn't like a whole lot of activity going on the moon.
Interesting. All right, you ready for a question? I got a question.
Sure.
I got an extra caller on the air. You've raised your hand as a question. Is there anyone joining us today?
Yeah. I took a look at your page. It's about the world banking conspiracies. So,
yes.
I wanted to find out what the opinion is about the Federal Reserve in America.
In America.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. I watched some clips over the YouTube. Somebody getting hold of one of the old, I think, Volker, on the elevator before he gets into the elevator. And then this interviewer tried to ask him a question about the Bohemian Grove and if he invited or not. And said, well, I'm not going to want to say anything about it, but, you know, Federal Reserve is the one who really sends stuff. And then the elevator closed. That's right. Paul Volcker.
Yeah, I know. He was the chairman back during Reagan's era. So
yeah, 80s. You know, so that's his opinion. So to sum her up, I will put,
he doesn't want to express it. So I guess I presume then that since you're into global conspiracies, that the Federal Reserve here in America is either part of the global conspiracy or is probably one of the leaders of this particular conspiracy. Correct?
I think they are pretty high up there, of course, because it's a very important institution, but they're not real top because there's a few layers above them is much more powerful. Actually, they can dictate who is going to be chairman next term, and they plan for that. You know, like when the Bernanke came from the Princeton University principal chair, you know, his dissertation was something to do with depression.
Mm-hmm.
You know, isn't that a convenient? Somebody you get the people who are knowledgeable. Get the PhD hold on. He had like PhD from MIT and Princeton or Harvard or something like that. And then he knows a great deal about the depression. And he was in charge of doing this printing money thing.
Well,
he even said it,
yeah.
You know, and also Tim Geithner.
I mean, some of these, if you take a look at the papers of some of these presidents, they're directly opposed to the kind of activities that they've engaged in once they become the captain of the helm. The thing is, Bernanke, he was also responsible for the Japanese decline. He was on a board.
Oh, they are responsible for everything, you know.
Well, I mean, he was part of an advisory board to try to get Japan out of its doldrums, and he was advising for the printing up of money, which is what Japan's been doing the last.
Oh, yes. The Japanese ruling party gets to note from American embassy, and it sounds like it's like a punch list made from CIA every year. And this is what you need to do this year. That's what the Japanese government will get. It's like, work hard on it, please, because this is the things we like to do this year.
What do you think the major goal is of the international bankers?
They basically want to create more debt, so that when everything is blow up, they are going to be owned by the United Nations because or IMF, whatever, this global financial pants. So they're basically going to be controlled by one institution rather than going through each different country's central bank. Right now, the central bank, each country has each central bank. That's kind of not very efficient, I think. So let's make everything into just in one hand, and and maybe they have 3 branches. That's what they are aiming.
Well, I think what you're saying is that they want to create an economic implosion so that they could buy all the assets up for pennies on the dollar. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
They already own that, They already. It's exactly what you said. Yes.
Yeah. What do you think about the Rothschilds? Do you think they're behind all of it or most of it?
Yeah, most of it is part of the Rothschilds from probably Romanov, or part of some Asia is Windsor maybe, because Windsor used to have a lodge in Shanghai, was burned down, but the Oriental was kind of controlled by Rothschild. Still Japanese royal families, kids goes to school in Oxford.
Yeah, Cambridge. Yeah.
I think it's Oxford. Yeah, whichever the same thing, similar thing, but yeah. So it's been going on like this in Japanese banking, financial system taking over. It's been very conspicuous last 20 years already. They always have a long-term plan. It's just unbelievable. It's not like humanly possible. And sometimes super intelligence in behind.
Super intelligence?
Yes. I'm maybe thinking about some off-world entity, but some people think like that. I don't know exactly. I don't want to define it at this point, but it seems to me their planning is longer than one generation human span. And their knowledge, what before the invention of the supercomputer, they already they plotted different scenario and planning beforehand.
Well, the Rothschilds, if they are the ones that are behind it, and they probably are, I mean, they've had centuries of experience doing this.
Yeah, but sometimes not so clever child could become a chairman of the family, but they just doing this for so consistently, successfully, suggesting me that maybe not just this lucky family, one lucky family,
Caller, I'm gonna have to stop you right there. I want to thank you for calling in. We got a few more follow-up questions, so I'll let you go. Thanks for calling in.
All right.
Thank you very much for calling.
All right, Mr. Mitsuboshi. Are you still there?
Yes. Yes, I'm here.
Excellent.
I'm here still.
All right. The question on the board now, coming from the far edges of left field here, is you've talked about the manipulated system. You've talked about multi-generational awareness of how humans will respond over the course of over 100 years.
Yeah.
What do you recommend that people do? What's your personal opinion that people should be concentrating, focusing on to find stability in a unstable, manipulated system of economics and resources? And what should we do as individuals, as communities, as locals?
Yeah, the question is a very good question, and rightly so. And even we're talking about this and that, that's just not more than just complaining. What we should do about this. I've heard this question often. They have a military too. They have a police. They have all the power in the world. We cannot just go using the same kind of thinking and then try to eliminate them. It's probably not going to work, But if we are many and they are few, So if we split the word, each other, educate each other, make more awareness of what's going on, and telling everybody, you know, not just watch CNN or all other mainstream media that are ultimately owned by like 3 individuals or something, and it's completely controlled. And we tell that the people we care about. We tell that these things more freely, and then more awareness, and then you don't need to tell 100% of the people. We only need after the capitalistic number, like 2.5%. We call it the 100 monkey effect.
Yeah.
Then the kind of the consciousness will change among people. Then we probably be able to change something. Not because we are fighting with directly, but we are aware about it. So lots of people in the military, I'm not really interested in fighting with other nations, so I'm just going to tell my son, never going to join the army, and it's kind of stupid. And all the young people start realizing why we have to fight with neighbors. Is there any merit to it? What's the real difference between my neighbors and me? If they kind of wake up to that point, isn't that we all fighting so that the Illuminati are going to get the gain and then they control us? And this kind of awareness is spread, then we are onto something.
Yeah, I found out from my perspective, I guess I fall into the generational gap that you're a new ager or you're not. And I guess I'm a new ager because I meet a lot of people that are into this. The sort of thing we're talking about, which is kind of like consciousness, awareness movement. And it seems to me like even within this group of people, there are people fighting with each other. And the basic fundamental principles are, hey, consciousness, awakeness, consciousness, conscientiousness, being courteous. And these are just the fundamental principles. And people are like, oh no, you can't say that, and you need to say it this way, or you're a Leo when you're not really a Leo, and you're using astrology when you should be using astronomy. It's like, guys, we're all fighting each other, and it's a distraction while somebody else is over there winning the prize or taking the resources, buying things on pennies on the dollar, because we're arguing about whether or not, your chakras are aligned.
It's like a chiropractor say that nobody have a perfect alignment in spine. And then you're looking for something like not there.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we should be more. So I try to pinpoint who is real enemy to us. Who is the enemy to humanity? It's not terrorists, obviously. So more people know about who are they really controlling us. Then we probably be able to stop fighting among us.
Well,
because that just doesn't make sense.
I'm not going to rope you into this, and you don't have to make any comments about it. And I've pushed a lot of people into telling me about their psychedelic usage, and I don't want to out you on this one because you sound like you've got a really good thing going for your biography and your degrees and all those wonderful things. So I take mushrooms. I take magic mushrooms. I take them at least once a year. And I've taken them for a long time now, maybe 5 to 7 years. That's not that long, but it's a long time for me. And if I haven't taken mushrooms, in a year I'll take something else, like mescaline in the form of a cactus, like peyote or San Pedro cactus. Or I don't take chemicals because I believe that there's some sort of a consciousness that I'm communing with in the plants or the fungi, in that whole form. And I really didn't I didn't buy this MK Ultra, this mind control bullshit. I bought into the psychedelic revolution. I bought into the New Age movement until one day I had a trip on shrooms. I took mushrooms, and I was tripping in Sedona, Arizona. And they said to me, stop eating wheat and stop watching TV and stop looking to those things that, you know, are just trance inductions. If you ever want to be your own person, if you ever want to be free, if you ever want to free your mind, if you ever want to, you know, have your real control of your mind, you can't eat the GMO stuff. And I was having such a hard time with it. I was thinking about oxygen in this experience, and later on, let's see, that was last year. This year, later on, I looked at a thing that I think you posted on Facebook about Bill Gates and how much oxygen was on the planet. He was talking about, you know, getting the population down. The mushrooms told me there is only a certain amount of oxygen for you people. And I'm like, what does this have to do with anything? You're supposed to be, you know, giving me a good experience, and I'm asking for my healing, you know, of my body, and they're saying you can't eat wheat, you can't eat GMO, and you definitely, you know, have to be aware that you're on a planet that is dying, and you're going to be starving for air, not food, if you don't do something about it. And I'm just kind of like horrified by this, and I put it aside, and lo and behold, all throughout the remainder of that year, which was 2013, news blast after news blast came my way on articles about how Barack Obama was allowing more GMOs to come in. He was allowing higher percentages of mycotoxin from the ergot fungus to get into the grains that were distributed here to food as food substrate for people in America, basically poisoning our brains and making us more susceptible to mind control conditioning. And I was like, I cannot believe this. 6 months ago, the mushrooms tripped me out and told me this, and now I'm reading it on the news. And so I have to say that our radio show, because of my personal journeys, because of the intentions of the plants that, you know, led me to speak out and have a voice, we have to talk about this stuff. So you know a lot more about MK Ultra than I do. What real mind control experiments are out there on the black budget projects? I mean, give us an understanding of what you've researched. And don't tell us that you need anything crazy psychedelic like I do, because we don't need to know that.
Because this mind control thing is as old as assassin training, according to Stuart Soul. They drink some heavy alcoholic thing and then take into some palace, and it was a beautiful woman and food, and they take another drug and bring back to the place, and then for the person who abducted, it feel like they have been to some kind of experience. And then when the message was, when they were in the palace, they was told to do certain things, to kill somebody or something, in order to get back here. That's like some crude technology was invented at that time. So the history is there long term. But what I'm talking about, this U.S. military, particular Black Project, the mind control, MK Ultra, sometime during the 50s, again, the original technology came from Germany. MK is ultra control. K is a spelling that was not C, it's a German control spelling. So it's already there. And then basically they experiment on the people how to control their behavior. Because Illuminati is only 10,000 people, and they have to control the billions of people. So they cannot use the straightforward type of technology, but they want have to be subtle. It's like almost like you are thinking about your own thought, but you are automatically led into the agenda of what they want you to go. That's basically the big objective. And the MK Ultra, under the so-called MK Ultra, there's many, many, many different programs. More than hundreds, I think. And each different programming has a different purpose and different specification, and they have some programmer. It's like a computer program. They have a programmer. And then there's so many people actually from 50 to 60, 70, 80 programs. Nowadays, they're just simply using a cell phone technology or satellite communication technology and broadcast certain frequency your program. And also they can pick on certain profile, DNA, and they can go into that route for the very specific programming, or they can abduct that person under the influence of some drug or something like that, and then they completely alter your sometimes physical brain structure. They don't do that anymore, the brain surgery that has been done in the beginning of the 50s, 60s. But nowadays it can be done much quicker and much more precise using by computer and other technologies. And that's also spread out around. Realm in the brain is functioning obviously with more than just the physical realm, and then human soul and spirit interaction, and you can transmit this signal some means, just like the electricity radio, but there would the other type of function that we are not really told or allowed to study.
So there's a documentary out there that I went and watched called Human Resources. I guess it's available on YouTube. It's a free documentary. And they talk about this project along with several other ones. And they give you exact years and exact people and places that were experimented on, including a group of children that were in the northeastern part of the U.S. That were taken in by some psychologist who I think her name was Virginia something, and she's a psychiatrist. She was able to give these children from starting at like a very young age, like age 5, a series of LSD doses.
5 or 6, yeah.
Yeah. So they would give these children LSD consistently and just for years. And she would publish all these studies, and no one ever questions, well, is this humane? Is this okay? She, at the end of the section they're citing in this documentary, Human Resources, they cite also that she was governmentally funded for this project. Very strange. U.S. government funding.
Yeah.
So I tell a lot of listeners out there that, I don't do LSD. You want to do LSD, you do LSD. But know that most of it is probably produced, released, and sold from our government to the streets before it gets to you.
Yeah.
That's my soapbox.
So they are basically helping their funding money, donation to the cause. Thank you very much. The one thing they found out that the human psychic could be fractured into many different parts. And then this founding was back in 70 or probably 60. sometimes you can make a different personality. Multiple personality disorder came from this period of time. They can build into the different personality into the people's mind. And in a movie called Manchurian Candidate, it's one of the movies, it gets very famous about this thing. Some people just get the phone call on few words and turn into different individual and don't remember what happened during that time. That sounds like a real thing, according to what I read and researched.
There was one thing that a friend of mine posted on Facebook. I think it was even before I had known you, and it was last year or something. And I was researching this topic a little bit, and I wasn't totally sure how deep MK Ultra type projects were running, if they were even running anymore. And it was a C-SPAN video feed, live video feed, where an individual, an older gentleman, he was like either a House of Representatives or senator, goes up to the Speaker of the House. He does a few things facing away from the camera, including a head nod.
Wow.
And he's a gray-haired man. The Speaker of the House, or whatever her, she wasn't the Speaker of the House. She was the official writer, scribe. He does a few things. She nods back. He walks away.
Really? Wow.
She stands up, gets up to the microphone, and starts yelling stuff in it, and is dragged out. And I was just like, what was that? And I watched it a few times, and I'm like, you know, he's doing an old-fashioned hypnosis trick. And she was totally like a different person after he did whatever he did. Because you could see, her whole history, her whole career, her whole behavioral pattern was different until that. If listeners can find that, go watch that video. It's an interesting one.
Industry's terminology, we call those people who can managing this subject, mind control person, we call handler. You know, like HANDLER, handler. And nowadays in Hollywood, movies and movie music field, they don't call the supervisor anymore or my boss. They call them my handler, because that's become like a common word there. Because most of the Hollywood,
it's creepy too, because they use that term in Dune as well. It's in the Dune series. You gotta get the chills again, and that's creepy.
That's probably connected to Illuminati or like the same breath with 1984 and New and Brave World, the Huxley's book. Probably did. They're all getting this information from somebody who or themselves are in a circle.
Yeah. And so a lot of this stuff does go way back to Aldous Huxley's family, who was a banking-related family, right?
They I think they are either Eton School student or something, or club member. Both George Orwell and Huxley, both. So they were basically briefed or told this is going to happen in the future. So.
Interesting. And then as far as I know, the person who discovered magic mushrooms was under the employment of J.P. Morgan, who owns Chase Bank, and they quote unquote rediscovered the magic mushrooms of Mexico. And this person was on a personal vacation. He was an amateur mycologist. He went down and experienced magic mushrooms, and then he somehow got connected with the Century Club and published an article in Time magazine. And he became all well known for this, discovery of magic psilocybin mushrooms, all the while being employed by J.P. Morgan, and simultaneously he was the banking liaison to the Vatican for J.P. Morgan.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Very peculiar stuff. And to me, that was the seeds of looking for more material on this subject when I first started studying it 5 years ago.
Just quick summary is the Vatican Bank, and then the backside of that area has the Knight Templars. The Knight Templar is the people running IMF, International Monetary Fund. So there's blood running very deeply in the family,
Mm-hmm. Okay, Makoto, what else do you have to say? Do you have anything else to say about how people can break free of the MK Ultra conditioning? Because it's obviously something that is, it's becoming a cultural awareness. What can we do to get around it and to stay free of it?
I think it's a good way to study is to you already know what in the message in the Olympic logo or any logo, or they have this message in there to control you, and any cultural fashion or movement or music, Hollywood, and then even you watch those things, if you know what this Illuminati and mind control handler wants you to do or feel, then already message or the control power is null and void. That's what the David Icke said. If you know they are controlling you, then you kind of know whatever happened to you. Like in astrology, the astrologer said, you tendencies to be very impatient, and this shortcoming. So you be aware of it. And if you're aware of it, if you get really angry, you can control yourself. Let's cool it down because I have a tendency to be, like that. Then that's one thing that is very potent to against. So they know what they want you to do. Look at what happened a few years ago. The Nike shoes and NBA Florida championship or something, and one shoes of Nike shoes was 200 commemorative version of the shoes was $250 or something, and then they queue on the line as far as you can see, and if you want to buy, think about it. What's the reason you have to not to sleep whole night and waiting for the Kmart or Walmart open so you can buy the best price on this item? And during this buying activity, some people get injured, obviously, because so many people try to get into the store at the same time, and it's crazy. You have to be aware of what you're doing, that kind of thing.
Black Friday is kind of like what you're talking about.
Yeah, and some of the items. Do you really need the item you buy? Or do you need to really? The TV commercial will say this is what you should do, what should do. Let's try to send you a message. And then you already know, okay, they try me to persuade to do this, then I'm not going to do it. Your attitude should be like that, So know your enemy. Know what your enemy wants you to do. That's good. One of the good things that you can do. Of course, you can do that very if you have an extensive laboratory, like a Montauk project, mind control subject. You have to ask for the special programming activity by Stewart or the Simon Parker in Britain also do the same kind of help. So if you find yourself at one of the very key mind control laboratory programs and a suicide tendency or something like that, you need help for professional. But I'm talking about the mass mind control program. All you need to do is just to know enemy. I think that's one of the key points, I think.
Very good. So I'm going to wrap it up. Do you have any final thoughts for us? I'll give a quick outro after you've given us any advice that you would like to. I feel we have a really solid show of, let's see, how long were we going for? Almost 80 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's see, about
time flies.
About maybe more than that. Maybe 90 minutes now. So tell us a little bit about what we can expect from you in the future. Are you going to do any special projects?
I'm trying to do what I said. I just try to go out to public, and any place that I was given to, I try to talk and let the people educated know what the enemy trying to do to you, and then more spread word and more love and nice feeling from everybody, and then point out who's been responsible for the tragedy of humanity. That's what I'm trying to do from as much as I can. And everybody can do the same thing. Just don't sit there. You can start talking. You know, if your guy sitting next to you doesn't listen to you, then don't talk to him or talk to her. Find somebody has ears. You cannot talk to the person who rejects your message 100% for some reason or another. They might be able to listen, understand later in their lifetime. But there's so many, and nowadays it's just this population of aware people is growing exponentially. You can probably find somebody and discuss more, talk about more. By just talking, we can defeat the enemy. And we have to imagine the bright future. Right now,
I absolutely agree.
Mind control and programming going on, and all over the CNN, the mainstream media, they show this tragedy on especially young children. Okay, they're doing on purpose to frighten you. One level, the another level is the children is simplify your hopes and your creative idea. They blow up all of them. On the screen, and then all exaggerated. They run the program again and again and again and again. Don't watch those. And then if you know what happened, then check something else. You know, not just keep on watching TV, same news again and again. And you start getting more pictures. And then like Q-san, if you try to meditate or you get some, information from some other realm, entity, be careful, but if you get some good information, that's also great, I have heard this story that some higher dimensional off-world entity, type of entity, informed that Hillary Clinton is coming to, I think at that time, Iran, without them, kind of secretly, tried to start institute the World War III. And this bodyguard, Navy SEAL guy, shot her. it's not the commonly reported news, but something like I heard from this thing from Simon Parks. You can Google him. He's one, he is very knowledgeable in this ET field and or as other off-world entities and connecting to other Illuminati and conspiracy theory area. I believe that some individual has the privilege to get the message from other realm. I really believe that. So you do not rule out all of that possibility as well. Let's I put it in the end.